Here's a quick Echo Daganothic guide. I'm going to assume you know how to get there, so I won't spend too much time here, probably just cut straight to the fight, but just in case you don't, you're going to need a pet rock and Rune Throne Axe or friends. So, I mean, for most of us, Throne Axe and pet rock. You can look this up for like how to get to normal Dagonoths, it's all the same. So I'm going to go ahead and cut straight to the actual fight. Okay, we're down here by the boss. Let's just dive straight into a little bit of what's going to happen. All three Dagonoth Kings will spawn, and all three will attack you one after the other, tick by tick. So we're going to be running on a 5-tick cycle, and if this goes over your head, here is the easiest way to do it. Go to external plugins, search for visual ticks, and you're going to add visual ticks. And what you're going to do now is you pop over here into your installed plugins, go to visual ticks, and you're going to go to the settings. Now you'll see when you turn this on, I think it will be like over here by default, something like this, and it'll be like this or something like that, right? So what you're gonna do, you're gonna go number of ticks, set that to 5, and change the colors to whatever you want. Leave all the rest of this the same, and if you close this, if you hold Alt, you can drag this wherever you want. I prefer it right above my prayers. I think that's by far the easiest place for it. And as you see, each one of the times it turns white represents 1 tick. And since we're on a 5-tick cycle, this is just a super easy way to do it. The long and short of this, to keep this, a pretty succinct video, is that on 3 of the 5 ticks, you're gonna be praying, and on 2 of the ticks, you kind of get to do whatever you want. And once you get into the rhythm of this, it's not easy. I definitely died a few times when I was learning this, and at one point was concerned whether or not I'd be able to get it, but once you get it down, it's really easy. And the biggest thing is just not to panic. As long as you keep up with the prayers, they won't be able to damage you. So if you miss a couple of ticks and you take 90 damage total, instead of panicking and trying to spam eat, just focus hard on getting back into the rhythm of it. If you don't have tier 6 combat masteries, this is going to be tougher for you, because tier 6 combat mastery gives you prayer penetration. So if you don't have that, you're going to have to actually bring switches and attack each of the Dagonoth Kings as they are weak to it. You'll see when we go down, I'll explain it as we go. So let's just jump right in. As you go down in there, you're going to want to pray mage. Okay, so actually let me just quick explain this before I go down. Hopefully I'll put like a picture up, but if I forget to, oh well. There will be 3 DKs, same as normal, except for they're all going to see you and attack you at once. You're going to want to watch the major, and as soon as he attacks, that's when you switch to the next prayer, and you're going to do that 3 times, and then after melee, you just go back to mage, and you're going to get a 2-tick break. So I'll jump in, pray mage, go down, and I'll hover over the guy that we're going to be watching, and then my recommendation while you're learning this is to just go down and go through this prayer cycle a few times until you feel comfortable, and you can even throw in some actions in the down ticks just so you get used to it. I'll show you here. Mage, right here. Ready? Attacks, and you switch. Go back. And see what you can start to do here is now if you're looking at my visual ticks over here by my prayers, you'll see that on 1 is when he attacks every single time. And this will never change the whole fight until they respawn. So all you have to know is that when you're on 1, you switch to range, on 2 to melee, and 3 back to range. Really all you need to know is 1 is when you start this, and you just go 1, 2, 3, along with these. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5 are actually free ticks. So you can do whatever you want for 2 ticks here. While you're learning, I would just try to get this rhythm down, and then try to do something in these 2 ticks, and then go back to prayer flicking without missing. And I would just do this for a little while until you're comfortable with it. The one thing to note, it won't always be 1. It's going to be slightly different depending on when you enter the cave and when they attack you, right? So it's not always going to be on 1. You can't just go with that. You're going to have to figure this out for yourself. But basically, you just come down and you're going to watch the major prime here. It will always be the first one to attack, and it will always be in this order. So when you come down, if you're not watching the ticks anymore, right? Like if you're going to do this visually, you watch prime, boom. As soon as you see him attack, that means you can go to range and then melee. And then once you have that down, then you can go look at the visual ticks as it's happening and try to figure out what tick you see him move on. So he moves on tick 1. And that's all you really need to know for the cycle, right? So 1, 2, 3. But like if you were to redo this, oops, I missed that one. But this is a good example too, I guess, before I leave, right? So I took damage, but I'm not panicking here. You're gonna want to panic, and you probably will a few times. You're just gonna have to get used to it, and you will. You don't have to, don't get discouraged. You'll learn this, right? So 4 and 5 right now are the 2 ticks where I have time to eat. Right, so I can do this and eat. Or I can drink a prey pot, right? Okay, let's go back up and come back down just so I can show you it won't always be the same tick. Watching prime. Okay, it's on 5 this time. 5. You'll see when this is on, when 5 is white is when prime moves. So you'll see it's different. It'll be different every time. You'll just have to slowly get used to it. Okay, this is already getting a little bit long, so I'm just gonna start killing these guys. So, see, the nice thing is they made this pretty well and thoughtfully, so you don't actually have to watch to know when the next phase starts, because your whole screen will shake. So even if I'm only looking over here at my prayers, you'll notice when it happens, right? When the screen shakes, what you're gonna do when the screen shakes is you're gonna finish, and once you go back to pray mage, then you move, right? Like I mentioned, in those 2 ticks, 5, 3, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, and then you get 2 ticks to move. And if you, preferably what you want to do is 5, 1, 2, move, attack. But if that's a little bit overwhelming, don't worry about dropping an attack tick, right? So, like if you have to do this, and then move, and then attack, that's fine. It's better than dying, right? And if you get kicked out of it, see, move. I just wasted a tick, but it doesn't matter. Right? So when the screen shakes, if you have to waste a tick like that, it doesn't matter. You're fine. I guess one other thing to note here is that every time the screen shakes, you see how 2 of them are praying, and 1 of them is not. Oop, take some damage. Don't panic. Don't panic. The way the fight is designed, you're meant to attack the one that is not currently praying, which seems obvious, but if you have tier 6, you can just always attack the Dagannoth King that's weak to your style, right? So for me, it's Rex. Oops. And I'll still hit through prayer. If you don't have tier 6, you're gonna have to just keep an eye on which one is not protecting, right? So I'm gonna go through the rest of this fight. I just took damage again. Sometimes I go too fast on the ticks. Screen shake. That's the preferable way to do it, right? So in this current setup, I would move on 3. Don't panic. Eat. Prayer pot. In this attack cycle, I'd be moving on tick 3 and attacking on tick 4. So it's going to shake here in a second. And here we're entering the last phase. I'm sure if you've known anything, if you've seen anything about this ahead of time, this is the part that gets kind of crazy. And since I'm explaining this, I got a little bit out of whack, sorry, okay. So in this phase, the very last phase, they're gonna shoot acid every single time, right? So you're gonna have to do this pattern of 1, 2, 3, walk, attack. And my advice would be, don't run around crazy, just click the nearest tile to you that doesn't have a shadow on it, right? If that makes sense. There we go. B ring and a Sears ring. I actually still need an Archer ring on this account to complete the set. I will let them spawn again and just play a full kill here as I would do it, just so you guys can get it down. It's gonna be a little bit tough when you're learning, but once you got it down, it'll be easy. I actually forgot to saturate it hard last time. Once you get it down, you'll have it down. It's not going to be easy, but so this time it's on 4. Right? See how it changes every time. Move attack. Oops. Move attack. You'll see that in the last phase when you do prayer, 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 move, attack, it'll be exactly the 5 tick cycle. It's very satisfying. So once you get it down, this has probably been my most enjoyable Echo boss to fight. Move, attack. Like I said, if you have to move on one cycle and then attack on the next one, it's fine. It's better than taking damage, better than getting out of whack and dying. Now obviously, if you're doing these for the first time, you probably will not have the DPS that I have because my mage build is almost complete. I have the jewelry, I have a shadow. Right, now we're in the last phase. You have to do this every cycle. Oops, I missed one. If you mess up partway through, just stand. My advice would be if you miss the move like I did there, instead of panicking and spamming move and getting out of cycle for the attacks, just stand in there and just eat the poison for one cycle until you can pray again.